السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. وعن أنس رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. So Anas bin Malik, he said that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from incapacity and laziness. وَالْجُبْنِ وَالْحَرَمِ, and from cowardice and the feebleness of old age, وَالْبُخْلِ, and from stinginess, وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ, and I seek refuge in you from the punishment of the grave, وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ فِتْنَةِ الْمَحْيَا وَالْمَمَاتِ, and I seek refuge in you from the trials of this life and the trials of death. Rawahu Muslim. This hadith is in Muslim. So this was one of the other du'as that the Messenger of Allah used to make. And we're seeing a lot of this. We're seeing so many du'as, and we're seeing that so many companions are narrating different things. Basically, what they're narrating, what they witnessed the Messenger of Allah saying. And they remembered this du'a, and then they said it. So number one, we learned two things here. Number one, we learned that the Messenger of Allah did not make the same du'a all the time. Number two, some of you have probably heard a dua like this, but the order has been switched around. Sometimes it says, al-ajzi wal-kasal, the wording has been shifted. So the question is, did the Messenger of Allah say it sometimes this way and say it sometimes that way? Or is it because the companions themselves, when they narrated, they didn't care so much about the order of the wording or the narrators that came later? So if you're interested in this question, it's a really long question. But if you're interested in the question, there's an amazing paper by a professor named Dr. Jonathan Brown. He's written a paper called, Did the Prophet Say It or Not? And it's a much longer subtitle. I'm not going to get into that. Beautiful paper, which actually talks about the Gettysburg Address by, does anyone know who said the Gettysburg Address 7 years ago? Abraham Lincoln, yes. The Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln actually had 4 different versions of the exact same speech, and yet the wording was switched around. So he makes a comparison between that and between the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that are in Bukhari and Muslim even, which are authentic. It's a very interesting read. But anyways, we learned that, number 2. And number 3, we learned the type of dua that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is making. Number 1, he's asking Allah to protect him from ajz, incapacity, the inability to do things because even though you want to do them, you cannot do them. Number 2, kasal, laziness. Laziness, you have the ability, you have the physical ability, but you don't have the drive, you don't have the motivation. It's something that you can overcome. You have the capacity and potential to overcome it, but you simply don't want to. Wal-jubn, cowardice. It's in the similar category as laziness. Is that you're not brave enough to do something that you know you should be doing. And you have the ability to do it, but you don't want to do it. So he said that bravery is required for you to do that thing, so it's in your capacity. So one thing not in your capacity, one thing out of your hands, 2 things in your hands, wal-haram, the incapacity of old age. In your hands or not in your hands? Not in your hands. So it's in the category of the first one. So once you get old, to an extent where you're not able to function anymore, you're not able to function the same way you used to, you don't have the ability anymore. So 2 of them are from Allah, test for you. 2 of them are from yourself, test from yourself to overcome those things. Wal-bukhl, and then stinginess. If you have money, but you don't want to give it, you're stingy, you're miserly, is it from Allah or is it from yourself? From yourself. So 3 things from yourself, 2 things from Allah. And then Azab al-Qabr is mentioned in all the trials and tests that we go through in this life. So the things that we have incapacity, we ask Allah to not test us in those ways where we don't have the ability to do those things. We have to have sabr. We have to have patience over those things. And then when we do have the ability to do certain things, that is not the time to say, I'm going to have sabr over my laziness. I'm going to have sabr over my cowardice. No, that's the time where you work on yourself and say, I need to push myself through this. I need to get through this because Allah has given me the ability, but I myself am not getting over these hurdles. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not test us with these things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from incapacity, from laziness, from miserliness, from cowardice, and from all other things. آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.